Hey, it's Heather again. I just listened to the John Piper message, and he kind of went over a general overview, especially relating it since it's almost Christmas time. It is Christmas time, being a few weeks away, but he did relate what the meaning of Christmas is and how God's plan is in store for us and how through him and through his plan in Christ, we are alive again and we are saved from Satan and all of the sins. He really took great care and integrating the books and the different types of passages that he was talking about into the biblical storyline, and the fact that he really went into detail explaining it. For example, Paul was a big part of his lecture, and how he related to this storyline, and how, the different trials and tribulations that he went through and the suffering that he went through, and how it relates to the overall plan, like with Christ and his earthly being and the suffering that he had to go through, um, and how it all pretty much ties together in the end, um, and whatnot, which is, it's quite the message considering there's so much going on with that. He had a very interesting way of articulating his message, and the fact that he had more of a monotone voice than some of the other pastors that we had listened to in the past few weeks. And rather than having a different inflection in his voice, some pastors would get really loud once they were talking about a very important part of their message. He wouldn't really change the level in his voice, but he'd start talking quickly, and then once he'd start quickly, like, building up to that important part, like the meaning of Christmas. When he's talking about Paul's trials and tribulations, and the meaning of Christmas and how Christ came to die, like, he'd begin talking really fast, and then once he got to the very end, stating that we were by nature children of wrath, but God promised us eternal kindness instead, his voice got very quiet and very slow, rather than, that's where the inflection definitely came in, was, rather than getting loud, he would keep the voice same, and he would kind of get quiet as the really important message was coming through, I guess, to draw the audience in, is the best way to put it. As for my personal habits, I would definitely say it challenges them big time, considering we all tend to forget, that part of being a Christian and having our sins being forgiven is suffering. And it's, not necessarily, even though we think it is, it's not necessarily a bad thing to suffer, in the place of Christ and whatnot. And that even though, Christ had to go through, God did not, as much as Christ was his son, and he did not, take away his suffering, because he had an overall plan for him to be the overall redeemer for us and our sins. That way we don't have to work for our sins to be forgiven. They're automatically forgiven. And I think a lot of that, we forget that, because we will think in our daily lives, okay, what do I need to do to make God happy? What do I need to do? Granted, he does have his, the word, aspects, of course, that we're supposed to follow, like with the commandments and his laws and everything, the ways we're supposed to live and love people like the way he loves us. But we tend to lose that train of thought a lot, especially when we're not around church, and we get back into our busy working daily lives. We tend to forget those kinds of things. Okay, when something bad happens, oh no, I did something really bad, God's gonna hate me for it. But that's not necessarily true. Samuel, sorry, my cat decided to jump in. But let me put you on the floor. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. But he, definitely, the overall real message definitely gets to you especially during Christmas time, and what it's about, because there's so much having going on, especially nowadays with it being commercialized, very quickly. Many people tend to forget the meaning of Christ and how it is and what it's really about. I mean, it's not, the gift giving is a very nice aspect of it. I mean, it's always nice to see the happiness on someone else's face when it comes to giving a gift. But we always need to remember the reason why we have Christmas is because Jesus died on the cross. And Piper really went into describing the importance of remembering that we are free from Satan and our sin because of that sacrifice that Christ made. And I mean, there's different little, just he put different stories in, like with the queen, um, and if she randomly sent money to someone here in America, if that would like drastically change our lives, and of course it would, but that's what he was relating that to. God and Christ did those things for us, and we tend to forget those things through our suffering, and we definitely need to remember that. So it definitely challenges us on a daily basis to remember those kinds of things. Thanks. Sorry about the cat again, but thank you.